Hello, beautiful. So today we are going to be into a deep one. We will be talking about addiction, mental health, and using some poor language. So if that's not your thing, please click off of this and go check out another video. All right, so let's get started. Today I will be telling you basically my story on how I became an addict, how it all began, and where it ended up. So, while we're talking about that, we will be watching me doing a set of nails, and everything that I use in this set of nails, I will list in the description box. So, if you're interested, go over there and check it out. As well, I will be putting some website in the description box to help you or a loved one that may struggle with addiction or mental health. So please, if you do struggle or if you have a loved one that struggles, please go check those out and try and get yourself some help. All right, so let's get into it. So pretty much, to tell you how it started, I'm going to have to take you back to the day I was born. So it was February 21st, 1988. From what I hear, it was one of the coldest days of that year, if not years. And my mother had been at a friend's house up all night using cocaine, heroin, and probably an array of other things. So as she was getting high, her night was abruptly interrupted by her water breaking. She was then rushed to the hospital where a little 3-pound, 4-ounce baby addicted to heroin and cocaine was born, and that baby was me. So I don't know if you don't know anything about addiction, but when you are an addict and you use while pregnant, your baby will then have to detox off of whatever drugs you were on. So back in 1988, I don't think they did it like they do now. Nowadays, they put your baby in the NICU and put your baby on morphine or maybe some other things and slowly taper them off until they are able to go home. Back then, I think they kind of just winged it, and I was sent home pretty much immediately. So I'm home, and my grandmother and my grandfather had me a lot. They were probably the most responsible and most reliable people in my life at the time. And even though my mother was an addict and completely mentally unstable, she at least knew enough to put me with people that had any business having a child, because she didn't. So, over the first couple years, I spent a lot of time with her. And then I guess the last straw was one day my grandfather came there. He's knocking on the door, no answer. And he peeks through the window and hears this little redheaded girl sitting on the kitchen table just playing with a big old bowl of nuts and bolts, and I had them in my mouth, and he just was so disgusted that I guess he somehow got into the house, took me, and I pretty much never went back after that. So over the years, I always felt like I had something missing, or there was always something wrong with me, like I was different than the other kids, and I never really could place it. I, of course, didn't know how I was conceived, um, what happened when I was born, or my mother being on drugs while she was pregnant. I didn't know any of that, or its significance, really. Even if I did know it, I don't know whether it would have made a difference. But I always felt like there was something different inside of me. And so here we are now, 12 years old, right? And you know how it is to be 12. I mean, especially as a girl, just emotionally, you just don't know what the hell is going on. And why in the fuck do I feel like this all the time? And I just felt like like any other typical girl. But I felt like there was still a huge amount wrong with me, that I was like the oddball out. And I never really knew why. I mean, I had friends. I guess I wasn't particularly popular, but I wasn't not popular. But I just always was emotionally probably numb to a lot of things. By 12, I definitely knew that my parents were addicts. Both my parents were addicted to cocaine and heroin. And that was very apparent by 12. And then that's pretty much when I started experimenting with a little bit of everything. By 9 years old, I was using marijuana. By 12 years old, I was using marijuana every single day. And then I was also experimenting with cocaine. I was experimenting with acid, shrooms. What else was there? There were crystal meth and just a whole bunch of different ones, just pretty much trying. And all I knew is that when I used a drug or any substance or sex or attention, that I felt that hole inside of me being filled just a little. And every time I placed another thing inside of me that changed me, it made me feel a little bit better inside. And so that's pretty much what I did. I used whatever I possibly could, whatever I could get my hands on, whatever was free, whatever my good looks would get me, whatever my parents left out. Anything that I could get that could make me feel different about me, I needed that. And then I also started self-mutilating. I didn't know why I did it, but I remember watching a Lifetime movie with my grandmother. Grandmas, they love their Lifetime, right? So we're watching this Lifetime movie, and it's a girl about her cutting. And up until that point, I may have known about what it was, but I really didn't know much. And so that day when we watched that movie, I just remember her always feeling such a huge amount of relief after she cut, and that it always made her feel better. And I knew that my parents were addicts and that they didn't love me enough to stop using drugs. And I knew that I felt different inside, and that I was different than the other kids, and that I didn't fit in with them. And I knew that the only person that wanted me in my life at that time was my grandparents. And I just felt alone and unwanted and hurt and confused. And then I remember the day that razor blade touched my skin. I don't know whether I can even put words to it to make it where you could understand, but it was a huge relief. But see, the thing with cutting or drugs or any of those things, sex, attention, anything, is that it's just a cover up. It's just a blanket. It's only temporary. It's only going to take it away for that moment, and then it's going to be right back, girl. And then what are you going to do? And so there I was, each time afterwards, like, shit, now what? So I would try another thing. I would do another drug. I would sleep with another guy. And as the years went by, you just become numb to the things that you shouldn't be, and you become, it's less of a big deal for bad things to happen because they've happened for so long. So now, between those years, a lot of things happened. I'm not going to get into all of those, but I will slightly touch them, that there was a lot of mental, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse along those years. Um, and then I was 16 years old and I found out that I was pregnant. So here I am, 16 and pregnant, like the MTV show. And I didn't know what to do. I remember my dad taking me over to a friend's house sometime shortly within the week that I found out. And he's like, yeah, she's been in trouble and she's been a juvenile and, she's done this and done that, but at least she's not pregnant. And then I found out I was pregnant. So I was terrified to tell my father, but my mom knew instantly. And it really changed my life. Whoever's out there, whether it's God, the universe, Mother Nature, Buddha, whoever it may be, had a bigger plan for my life. And I can see now, looking back, every time that I veered off, I was put in a position where I had to make a change. And so each time it just happened to be a pregnancy. So there I was, 16 and pregnant. That year, my father, for the first time in my entire life, quit using drugs. My mother and I tried to build a relationship. I tried to spend a lot of time with her, though she was actively alcoholic and using drugs. She did try and cut down and only use when I wasn't around. So that year, it seemed like it was like one of the best years of my life. My father was present. He went to Lamaze classes with me. He was going to be my birth coach. I mean, me and my daddy are that close. But then 3 weeks before I gave birth, we hear this huge knock on the door. And you know that knock, right? The knock that shakes the house when they knock. Yeah, the police were there. So me, as big as a house, went to the door like, yes, can I help you? We're here for, let's call him John. We're here for John. I'm like, John's not here. And they're like, well, if you don't step aside so we can go get John, we're going to take you in for obstruction of justice. And so my dad burst out the back room like, nope, I'm here. And they hauled him off to jail. So my Lamaze buddy / birth coach was gone. And I was 17, just a month prior to me giving birth to my son. And so I was scared and I didn't know what to do, but I did it. And 23 hours later, Caleb was born, and boy, is he gorgeous. He comes out and he changes me inside. He is going to be there to love me and me love him for the rest of my life. And nobody can take that away. But I didn't know that I was going to be the one that took that away. And so years go by, and now I am living in my own apartment, and I have a boyfriend. We've been together since high school, and him and I take care of my son. We both have jobs, and we're both working, plus we have a little boy at home, and we're trying to play house. And we did well for a while. I was a waitress, and I have scoliosis, and so after I was working for a while, my back started hurting, and so I went to the doctor. And when they're like, well, we've tried all of these non-narcotics, so let's try Vicodin this time. I'm like, sure, yeah, I've gotten that before, but I've never had it consistently. So he gives me a script. I go home and I take it. I go to work that night, and instead of making $75, I make $150. And when I'm done with work, I still have energy. I go home and I can play with my son. I can clean my house. I can make dinner. I can spend time with my boyfriend. And what's wrong with this? I mean, where has this been my whole life? But you see, when things are too good to be true, that's because they are too good to be true. And that one script of Vicodin turned into Oxycontin. And then that Oxycontin turned into me having to do things to get those Oxycontin. And then that turned into heroin. And then that turned into heroin IV use for years. The year that I got clean, I was in the hospital on oxygen or a ventilator 14 times. That means that I had overdosed probably 20 plus, but those 14, it was so much that somebody had to call the hospital. So it took me way too many years to figure out how to love myself enough to stop, because it's not about the kids that I had or the people that depended on me or all the dreams and things that I had before me or any of those things, or me watching my parents go down the drain because of their drug use. None of that mattered until I could figure it out for myself, until I could fix me inside. I would continue to keep on putting things on top of it over and over and over again. I would continue to cut my arms over and over and over again. I would continue to get into poor relationship after poor relationship where they would put their hands on me over and over and over again until I could love myself, until I could figure out my reason to live. And it took me many years and many times that I almost died, and I didn't think that I would ever have a chance to have my children, and I would ever have a chance to become anything. And here I am now, 4 years clean, with 3 boys that are amazing, that I devote my entire life to. And I'm now trying to build my career doing what I love. And none of that would have been possible if I didn't find my reason to live. And I don't feel like I would be me if I didn't go through everything that I went through. So, yes, addiction is horrible. Mental health is a struggle, but it's your story, and some of us have to learn the hard way in order for us to learn. And some of us, the lucky ones, get to watch videos like this and hear other people's story and struggle and decide for themselves that they don't want to go through it. Because let me be your sacrificial lamb. I went through it for you, sis. Don't go through it yourself. Let me tell you that there is nothing on the other side. But if you want to have a better life and change you better start today, because tomorrow is not promised. And that boyfriend that I had is dead now. And my best friend is dead now. And everybody that I went to school with is dead now. And here I am standing for a reason. So I hope that by making these videos and telling my story and other men and women's story, that it can reach somebody, just one person, and make a difference. So thank you so much for watching the first episode in Life Story in a Set. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you would like to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, comment what you would like to hear, and see next time. And I hope to see you then. Bye.